What's going on, guys? I'm pretty sure I'm live. So, man, this week ought to be a good one. I mean, it's at Miami, it's Florida State. It is the greatest rivalry in college football, even maybe sports. I mean, this one, I've been to many of these games, in terms of trying to brag, but this game is heated, not between just the players, but the fans. This one is a rough one. If you make it out of Miami as a Florida State fan, you consider yourself extremely lucky. If you make it out of Tallahassee as a Miami fan, I don't know if you consider yourself lucky, but you better not lose to us in your stadium, because that's when it gets rough also. And man, I got a video clip. It describes Miami in the terms of the Miami-Florida State rivalry, in my eyes, just beautifully. It is absolutely perfect. It could not be any better. Man, this video got me hyped making it. And I'll throw it to you guys to enjoy.
Be a 34-yard try. It's up. Missed it to the right. The game is over.
49 yards for the tie. He's got the distance. He does not have the kick. Miami has won.
Can you say wide right 3?
This for the win for Florida State to upset Miami from 43 yards away. A kick on the way. He missed it. Wide left. Wide right so many times. And when it came down to dethroning a champion, it was wide left.
They've had 3 wide rights and a wide left. And this one is wide right again.
Although they do have that one timeout left. Rozier going to take a shot, and it is caught into the end zone. Touchdown, Miami! Darrell Langham with the grab. Canes in front. 6 seconds left. There is a penalty marker down at the 2-yard line. Motion all around. Blitz off the edge. Francois doesn't see it. The ball's out. Is the turnover chain going to make an appearance? Sheldrick Redwine came on the blitz. Down going for it on 4th down. Another lob for Cager. Does he have it this time? A wrestling match for the football. And Cager wins it for a Miami touchdown. Middle screen, and it's intercepted! Michael Pinckney. Cozy Perry. Lobbing one for the end zone. Jeff Thomas. Touchdown! Perry. Deep shot up the seam, climbing the ladder. Jeff Thomas between 2 defenders. He's got it. What a great throw. He wants another deep shot. Drops it in. At the goal line. That's a Canes touchdown. Brevin Jordan, the tight end, got deep. And off to the
if that doesn't get you hype for Miami, Florida State, I don't know what will. That is quintessential of what this rivalry is. This is Miami. This is Florida State. This is always going to be exactly that. It is always going to be last-second finishes. It is always going to be national championships. Maybe not this season, but this is games that it doesn't matter who's good at the time or who's bad. It like even 2013 was probably the only game that Miami had against FSU where we got blown out in recent memory. Because that was the year they won the championship. They had Jameis Winston, but man, it was still like 2014 came back with Jameis Winston again, and we still almost beat them down in Tally. Then we come back to Miami in 2015, and we get blocked for an extra point, and we lose on that one. Then we go to 2016, and we lose again in that one. Or 2016, I think, was down in Miami. 2015 would have been down up at Tally. I went to the one in 2015. I've been to Tallahassee. 2016, I was at that one too. That one was rough. I remember the ref called some bogus call, and all the players, or not all the players, but all the Miami fans from the third row were throwing bottles on the field. It was not a good environment to be at if you were not a Miami fan or a Miami player. That one was rough. And then we lose that one by an extra point. We get our extra point blocked as Brad Kyle leads us all the way down the field, throws some beautiful, beautiful passes, and we just, boom, another time, kicking fails in the game. Then you jump to 2017, and, man, that was one of the great, only to be outdone by 2018. But 2017 was one of the better finishes, I would say, in terms of Miami doing what they needed to do to win, and that one was just incredible. Miami, freaking give credit to Malik Rozier. He beat Florida State for the first time in like 7 years. Drove us down the field. We thought Florida State was a joke. We thought we were the best. And then what do you know? It's close. We're losing. Florida State has their backup quarterback in, Justin Blackman, who could play in this game. Was a true freshman, and it's Miami, Florida State. It's just Florida State, boom, 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 and then you enter Miami. Here comes Malik Rozier. Here comes our 7-play offense with Mark Richt. We come down the field, 3rd and 10. We throw an out route to what is possibly one of the greater plays without the Darrell Langham touchdown. We throw a corner route earlier in the game to Braxton Berrios. Then what do? Come back. Braxton Berrios is our guy. Mark Richt knows it. The whole team knows Braxton Berrios is our number 1 receiver. They throw an out route to Braxton Berrios. What does he do? Breaks 2 tackles, gets a first down. Then what do? We come back the next play. We only got 7 seconds. Here comes Malik Rozier, pumping up the crowd. Out in Tallahassee. I wasn't at this one. I really wish I would have been at that one. He comes in, pumping up the crowd. And then he throws what is possibly one of the, as I've said, one of the greatest finishes in Miami, Florida State history, as Darrell Langham catches it back shoulder, extends it across the pylon. We win. 2018, I was at that one. I was at that game. Man, we were talking about leaving. I remember that because I was like, I remember we weren't doing so hot in that season on offense. I remember telling my family that we were all with, like me and my older brother, I was like, if Florida State scores again, bro, I'm out of here. Like, this offense isn't doing nothing. Kosi looked like a shell of what we had seen that season, and much like what we've seen this season. And that game was just awful. Then you get the Sheldrick Redwine fumble. on the sick double blitz of safety and a corner blitz. The tackle has to choose between the safety and the corner. Chooses wrong. Sheldrick Redwine nails him, pops the ball out instantly. No contest. If it's a throw, we fall on it. Then we drive our way down the field a little bit, even though we're like on the 40. We throw a fade route to Cager. Doesn't work on third down. Fourth down, make or break time. We either score here and we can possibly come back, or we don't get it, and this game is over already. And it could have not have been a better play by Cager, who had his ups and downs last season. And it was just boom, like he catches it, and they're like, all right, defense, step up, because they had not been doing so hot that game. And here come the tight end screen they've been running all freaking game. Here comes Michael Pick, just right in front of it, trips. If he scores, that might have been one of the greatest Miami plays in history, not to be outdone probably later in the game. And then we come the very first play on offense. N'Kosi Perry steps back, poise, fade route to Jeff Thomas. Could not have been a better throw. Another touchdown. Boom, we are in this thing. It is 20-28. And we are this close to getting the ball back. And we finally get the ball back and switches to the fourth quarter. We get a sick seam route right to Jeff Thomas, which I don't think we've seen all freaking season, this season. And it's a beautiful thrown ball in the next play. It's Brevin isolated out wide, which I don't think we've seen this season either. Brevin is in the slot. N'Kosi stares, chops back, stares at that middle safety, makes him stay in the middle. And then he's got both seams on both sides of the ball if he really wants either of them. And then he just, boom, right to Brevin. And that was right to my end zone. I was standing. The play is coming right at me. And I'm like, Brevin. And he throws it. Not because I said, but I'm like, that's just me. I'm like, it's Brevin. Throw it. And it's just, boom, right to him. Touchdown. And it was just like, oh, my God, the chills I get from that game. That clip that I've shown, just the crowd, how silent it gets in Tallahassee, how crazy it's going in Miami. That is Miami, Florida State. And then I didn't even touch on the fact that we have won this game 4 times because of missed field goals from Florida State. I guess we get a little taste of what they've been going through in terms of this series. We have lost this game, or lost games in this season, every one of them pretty much due to kicking. And then it's like, yeah, we get a little taste of our own medicine, but Miami, Florida State is different. Miami, Florida State is the game of all games. When you meet up as a player with your other former players after you're gone from playing, and they ask you 3 questions. Did you win a ring? What is your record against Florida State? And if you played, what's your record against Notre Dame? That's the 3 questions you're going to get asked when you get a reunion of Miami former players. And it is quintessential Miami. This is the game. Nothing else matters. Stats don't matter. Schemes don't matter. Tendencies don't matter. This game will be completely different than the rest, and that needs to be stressed by Manny Diaz. And from what I've seen throughout the week, he knows. He has said, I've seen this game. This is a holiday. These players need to know that these are the questions you will be asked once you have gone and you have left this program, is that the former players will call you up randomly and ask you, how'd you do against Florida State? Or they'll call you after this game and say, you solidified yourself as one of the great Miami players because of what you did against Florida State. Santana Moss, what he did against Florida State. Sean Taylor, one of the greatest hits heard around the world is the fact that he hits a guy and he does a backflip. That is quintessential Miami, Florida State. Sean Taylor, again, 2003, returns a punt for a touchdown, the pouring down rain. That is Miami football. This is the game that I live for. Like, I wanted the Miami to win the Florida game. But if we lost, I knew that the season was still afoot, which we've not done very well since then. But you lose Miami, Florida State, this could be bad news. This is the game of the season for both teams, especially where we're at. If you lose to Miami, Florida State, it's like, bro, what else? Like, the whole rest of the season is going to be terrible. And I know what the atmosphere is going to be. Tallahassee, I don't think touches Miami's atmosphere in the terms of this game. Miami's atmosphere, I've been to both. I've been to both schools playing this game. Miami's is infinitely better. You could call me biased, whatever, but if you're a Miami fan and you've been to the Miami game with these two teams, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the game for both of these teams. This team will break your tendencies. It'll make you do things you haven't done. It'll pull the plays you got in your back pocket. It'll pull out the formations you got in your back pocket. It'll pull out the player you've never even used throughout the season. This will pull out the guy that you've been hiding the whole season and say, this is the guy that we think could be a difference maker in the game. And that's what this game will do. It'll make you miss field goals when you're apparently on the Sports Center ESPN magazine cover for being the best kicker around the world, but you will miss 2 field goals 2 years in a row to lose you the game of this one. You will go wide right. Then the next season you'll go wide left to lose this game. That is what this game does to you. It messes with your head and makes you play not even 100. This makes you play 200%. If you go home after this game and you do not immediately pass out, then you have not done this game justice. Like, you have discredited this game and you have disgraced what this rivalry means. Because of old days, this game told you who was going to the national championship. Now, this game could determine who actually gets to go to a bowl game. But this game still, for me, is going to live in this, this upper echelon of sports. This will be every year the game that they put on television, and it doesn't matter if we're 4-4 like we are now or if we're both undefeated. I guarantee you a lot more people will watch this game because of Miami, Florida State than the fact that these two are good teams, if that was the case. We are both 4-4. We get our primetime slot of 3:30 on ABC. We get that primetime slot, and they are saying this is the rivalry game that everybody needs to watch. You got Alabama, LSU, who are both good. You got Michigan, Ohio State, who are both good. But nothing compares to the players you will see on both of these teams. Because I guarantee you, Florida State is not very good, but Florida State has got some good players. I guarantee you'll see some of these players in the NFL. 2 in particular that I know of. Miami, you'll definitely see these players in the NFL. These 2 teams showcase what Florida has in terms of football talent. Like, this showcases the freshmen you didn't think were even good. They were 3 stars in Florida, and then Miami and Florida State get them, and it's boom. These are the guys you got to watch because these are the guys that could turn around your franchise if you don't pay attention. So, like Greg Rousseau on our team right now was a 3-star, and here he sits as one of the best defensive ends in the ACC, much less one of the best defensive ends in the country. This guy is a redshirt freshman. This is the dude that needs to have an excellent, excellent game in order for us to proceed into what we want to do offensively. Because Miami's record against Florida State is 33-30. This is not a record or not a game where, like Ohio State, Michigan, or whatever, where in recent years it's been all Ohio State. This has been a flip-flop throughout history of Miami, Florida State. Miami, Florida State. Florida State has the longest record because Miami was way down and Florida was way up. And now we're both kind of coming, Miami maybe coming up a little bit, Florida State coming down, and we're kind of meeting. And this determines which head coach gets to keep their job. I think I suffice to say that. If Florida State loses, I think Willie Taggart may be gone by the end of the game. Like, if Miami loses, then this puts a real hot seat on Manny Diaz because you have to recover the rest of this season knowing you played your absolute best against a team you always think is inferior. You always think Florida State is worse than you. That's just the way it goes. And right there, we tried our hardest. And if we try our hardest, it can't be that team. What makes you think we're going to try our hardest and beat Louisville? What makes you think we're going to try our hardest and beat FIU? Like, that's what this game does to you. What makes you think we'll try our hardest and beat Duke? Like, that's what happens. That's what has happened. Miami lost to Florida State. I think it's 07, and we were 5-0. We lose to Florida State. We lose 7 straight games. Like, that's what this game does to people. last year, Florida State thought they were going to have some type of offense. They lose to Miami, and it's just like they crash and burn, and they only get 4 wins. That's what this is what happens. You could argue Florida State could probably be a better rivalry, but no. That game doesn't often determine who goes to the national championship. This one does. This is the game that has been decided in the last, since 2014, has been decided by an average of 3 points. This is the game that always finishes at the last minute of the game. This is the game where every player on your team is an integral part into winning. That includes your kickers, obviously, as we've seen. This includes your punters. This includes your quarterbacks. This includes your left tackle, backup left tackle. This includes everybody. This is the game where stats don't matter, tendencies don't matter, scheme doesn't matter. This is the game that determines who has the more will to win. Not will to win, because there's a difference between wanting to win and needing to win. Miami doesn't need to win because of our record. Miami needs to know how to win in the last parts of these games, which they've done for the last 2 seasons. Miami needs that, like they did against Pitt last week. They need that swagger back in the terms of what it takes to win. It's not blowing the teams out in the first 3 quarters and the fourth quarter get to take off. This season, we've determined that that's not the case. Our offense is the way it is. We need to figure out how to win with the people we've got and stop shuffling people around till we somehow magically come up with the formula to get us wins. You as players need to figure it out within yourself what you need to do to make sure your team wins these games in the close fourth quarter. Because that was 2017 in a nutshell. We barely beat Florida State. Georgia Tech the very next week. We win in the pouring down rain because Malik Rozier throws it up. It bounces up the Georgia Tech guy, and Darrell Langham is laying on the ground and catches the ball. That's how we win the Georgia Tech game. That teaches us how to win. And then we could come against Virginia Tech, blow them out of the water. Then we could come the next week, and because we know how to win, we could blow the socks off of Notre Dame, who was number 3 at the time, on College game day with the primetime slot. That season showed everybody how to win, made everybody clutch in that case. And then you transition to 2018, and we didn't really have that. We lost a couple games that were really close. Duke was one that was really close, had a lot of turnovers. QBs were a lot to factor in it. But if we scored more than 21 points a game in 2018, we beat everybody. We would have went undefeated. And then here we sit in this season, and it's like we've lost 2 games that were close. At Florida, or 3 games. We lost 3 games that were close in terms of Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech. So now, and we lost Virginia Tech too. All 3 of those were close, very winnable, and we've lost all of them. So Bethune, we blew them out. Central Michigan, I think we were just better. And then we got Virginia. That is a game that determined that we needed to try our absolute hardest to find it within yourself to somehow pull this game and drive down and win the football game. And we did. Pitt was the very same thing. We needed a fresh offense that was completely designed for a quarterback, in which is JARREN, that could drive us down the field and take advantage of what Pitt was giving us, which is they were softening up and allowing you to hit these bang 8 routes, which are an 8 route in the slant, or 8 yards in the slant. And it's like, that's what we need, is something like that to win games this season. And it's in terms of, because I don't have, in terms of what Florida State's percentage is on third down, what's their total offense ranking, like none of that matters. What matters is what these teams do in a game that I could see that would filter into this game, because scoring offense doesn't matter. As we saw last year, Florida State won 4 games, and they should have beaten us, but we won. And then now here we are this year, and it feels like we're finding our way to win, but this game is the mediator between it. I know I keep saying this every week, like this game determines what our season will be. And if we just lose that one, win one, lose one, win one. And on this season, if you lose this game, and you don't figure out how to win this one, it could get rough. And this one could be bad for Miami if we do not win this game. So the coaches need to make sure that they understand, the players understand what I understand as a fan, a lifelong fan. I'm not saying I understand this because I know how to play. I understand this game because I've lived it. I've been in those stadiums. I've seen the players play. I've seen the Miami teams be bad, and we somehow keep the game close. I've seen it. So what these players need to know is that what these coaches are talking about in terms of Manny Diaz and the defensive coaches, they're not talking out the side of their neck. Like, they know exactly what they're talking about. Manny Diaz specifically, who's a man who has been at a Miami fan his whole life and was even at Florida State for school. He knows exactly what this rivalry means to both teams and what will happen to their seasons should one of them lose. So I haven't even addressed the fact that it is 26 minutes into this thing, and I haven't even addressed the fact that Andrew, who is usually accompanying me, is not here this week. And that is due to the fact that he had basically a conflicting schedule and could not be here. I'm doing this literally in like the middle of the day, so I don't know what else to really say. I was where I'd filmed this, like, we couldn't do it last night because Andrew was having to work late. And then we couldn't do it tonight because the space that we were using is occupied. So I was just sitting there and I was like, fine, I guess I'll have to do it because Andrew is currently at work now too. So I just trekked back and was like, okay, I'll start it. I guess I'll just do it by myself. I know exactly what this game means because I was debating not even doing it. And then I was like, no, this is Miami, Florida State. You got to talk about it, even if the stats don't matter. So here I am. So after I've gotten what the game means out of the way, let's get to the meat of styles and offense for Miami specifically. Man, trying to gather my thoughts into what I actually want to say. So Miami announced Wednesday that JARREN Williams will be their starter, that we don't even know if Kosey's even the backup. So I want to preface this all with the fact that I've been clamoring for Tate Martell the entire time, and he has been moved indefinitely back to quarterback. At practice, if you're not a quarterback, you wear white on offense. Quarterbacks wear orange. Tate Martell has been wearing orange all week. He looks good and healthy. So am I getting my hopes up? Definitely. So I'll track back to JARREN Williams was announced the starter. And it's like, you could probably see it on my usual face is how much I really like JARREN and that I'm not that happy. And it's like, it's odd. It's like, why aren't you happy? Because this is the same kid who, at the end of the season, last season, before Tate Martell was even here, wanted to transfer. And it's like, you know me. It's like, it's Miami ride or die for me. So if you don't want to come to Miami, you don't want to be in Miami, fine. Don't be here. And then he comes back and, you grows on you. Like, okay, apparently Tate ain't the guy. Fine. Give it to JARREN. But it's like that all seems kind of predestinated in the sense of the offense, and it wasn't fun. Then we transition to what happened last week, and apparently N'Kosi Perry starts against Pitt, not due to the fact that JARREN was hurt, but because JARREN just didn't even show up on Wednesday before practice or during practice on Wednesday, the day before you're supposed to leave to go away games. He's just MIA. Nobody knows where he's at. Can't find him. He's not at practice. He's not in film room. Like, if you're not committed here, then it's like it leaves a sour taste in your mouth because it's like, I don't think N'Kosi Perry should start because I don't think he has a good arm to run this offense. Is he good in an offense? We've seen the clip of 2018. He looked, in the second half of that game, he looked incredible. And so now here we are with the guy that this offense is basically designed for, in JARREN Williams, and he's just not showing up to practice. He's MIA completely. And that's what ticks me off is here we got Tate Martell, which I understand what this is going to say and how this is going to sound. But the Joker has said nothing all season. He sat there and done exactly what they told him to do. They told him he was a terrible quarterback, so he went to play receiver. They told him he was a terrible receiver, so now he comes back to quarterback. So with that being said, I expect to see Tate Martell in this game. Maybe not full-on duty or replacing JARREN, because I think JARREN is perfect for this offense. It's just now it's a personal thing. Like, now you ain't at practice, dog. Like, I can't talk about the way you play because I think you play stellar in this offense. Now it's personal. Now you're not doing your quarterback duty. And that leaves a sour taste in your mouth. So I expect we see Tate, though, in a more role that we saw at like Ohio State, where he would come in and run the football, because Ohio State last season had Dwayne Haskins, who was basically the same as JARREN Williams and couldn't really run. And so we'll probably see more design packages for Tate, I would say, especially if DJ Dallas is not 100%, who is definitely playing this week. Him, Michael Pickney, and Tate are all supposed to be available for this game. Let's see. In terms of offense, as well. People wanted N'Kosi Perry to start because he's a dual threat guy. And I don't think that amounts to anything. And you can say, well, that's your opinion. But N'Kosi Perry has only netted us 5 yards rushing on offense, specifically from him. Sack yardage is involved, yes. But he has only netted us 5 yards rushing this season. I know there's plays he keeps us alive with his dual threat ability, and then it's like, well, if his arm ain't there, then what's the point? Because he's not dynamic in the dual threat sense like Tate Martell is with running. He's just a runner. He's more inept to run than JARREN Williams. But JARREN Williams showed us his ability last week against Pitt. So I think at that point that argument is flat out useless. So I honestly, though, expect to see Tate Martell in this game. I mean, I say it every week. The scheme isn't good and it's not good enough for him. So schematically, it's going to be the way it is. I mean, Mark Richt had a better scheme with 7 plays. We were spread. We had Brevin Jordan in the slot as a receiver. Like, we were going trips or throwing bubble screens to him. Like, we haven't seen that since the first series of the season against Florida. We just haven't. I mean, I would say Brevin Jordan is the best tight end in the entire country in college football. And yet we have not used him hardly at all this season. And it's a crying shame. It is the absolute shame that we have not used Brevin Jordan in the sense that he should be. Complete waste of a season for him. Absolute waste. So, in terms of what FSU's defense gives you, they got a really, really, really good defensive tackle in Marvin Wilson. And he looks like to be a first-round defensive tackle. And coming from our guards, who are Navon Donaldson, who's probably regressed this season, to Ja'Kai Clark, who is really a center and is playing guard, is a little undersized, came in the summer, didn't get a good weight room in. It's like Miami's offense is done very good in terms of what the defense has done to us versus what we have allowed them to do to us. So, I mean, Pitt was number 1 in the entire country in sacks, and they only got 2. Both of them were Navon Donaldson, I'm pretty sure. So that's a little disheartening, but our offense needs to limit the sacks, specifically Marvin Wilson, because our defensive ends are absolutely terrible. At the end of the day, this is Miami, Florida State, so everything that I'm going to say, just say that it's probably not going to be true. This game always has a way of doing that, but in terms of what just FSU's defense just does on general, they try to get pressure with Marvin Wilson. Then if it's not Marvin Wilson, it's done. I mean, Marvin Wilson has 5 sacks as a defensive tackle this season, and that's a lot. considering Greg Rousseau has, I think, 8 or 9. And, I mean, you know how good he's been, so that's where that's at. I mean, their secondary sucks. They play off coverage. They give you the yards in hopes of giving tackles because they know they're not good enough. They got undersized corners, too, so they're going to play off, let you hit those bang 8 routes in hopes that they can hit you as you catch them to make you drop them. And I think our receivers are just flat out just better. We're definitely faster. We could definitely hit the vertical shots if they're there. If JARREN can hit them, they will definitely be open, I should say. It's just up to JARREN whether or not we can play a good game and keep him protected in the pocket long enough to hit those. Their defense actually plays in the Miami scheme really well. It's like I just said, gives you the underneath stuff, hopes to hit you as you catch it. I mean, this got to be a good game for Brevin. This has got to be. We also get Jeff Thomas back too. I expect him to probably play with a chip on his shoulder because that's another one that's leaving a sour taste in my mouth too, especially given his history. So, I mean, I doubt they really blitz. They usually don't blitz, but I mean, this game breaks tendencies, and that's what Florida State's tendencies are: is to play off and not blitz and just try to hit you as you catch it, try to knock the ball out, and hope their guys are just fast enough to see where the ball's going and get there and knock the ball out. And that's all that really is. They're not trying to press you and force off, mess up your timings. They're just they're going to play to make Jarren Williams pick them apart. And if that's the case, I don't think there's a better quarterback on our roster just in general that can pick apart just the defense at will than Jarren Williams. In terms of Florida State's offense, I mean, this offense is terrible with passing the ball. They have a 2-quarterback system with Justin Blackman, who was from 2017. He was a true freshman. And Alex Hornibrook, who is from Wisconsin. And Wisconsin beat us in the Orange Bowl 2 years ago with Alex Hornibrook. So, but he also threw like 15 interceptions that season. Last season only played half the season and threw 11. Like, he is not good. He is not mobile at all, even worse than Jarren. He will not move at all. He has terrible arm strength, cannot push the ball down the field, and that's what Florida State really would need to do if they had like a N'Kosi Perry. I think their offense could be really scary because didn't mean to rhyme there, but their offense, their receivers are fast, they're big, they are typical Florida receivers. I mean, that's what you get. Florida State, Miami and Florida State, no matter what, this game will always have good players that are X factors in the game. They got a big 6'4" guy. They got another guy they can hit underneath routes that can break open plays. It's just, can Alex Hornibrook or Justin Blackman, whoever. It's probably going to be Alex Hornibrook because Kendall Briles, their offensive coordinator, seems to prefer him. Kendall Briles is somebody I wanted at Miami. He came to Florida State last season, or for this season, for offensive coordinator. He's got a lot of baggage that comes with his name because his dad was the head coach at Baylor. And if you know what happened at Baylor and the awfulness that happened at Baylor. And here it comes now he's still got that name attached to him. He is his son after all. But there was the Kindle to Kindle hashtag that I started because not Art Briles, but Kendall Briles is innovative. He's young. He's got a lot of good ideas. He runs a very, very good scheme, and he knows how to play into his quarterback's strengths. I mean, made D'Eriq King a world beater, and you see what Eric King was doing before he redshirted. And this is a good offense scheme, but in terms of quarterback, I don't think it amounts to much. I mean, as I said, Hornibrook is very immobile. Justin Blackman could probably be a little more mobile. He's just a pocket. They're both pocket passers. They both got terrible arm strength. They're going to try to hit underneath routes. They're going to try to take advantage of Shaq being slow, with Pickney Baby being a little bit hurt. And it's going to be up to Greg Rousseau, Jonathan Garvin to exploit their tackles because their offensive line starts, I think, 2 or 3 maybe true freshmen. And one of which was a guy Miami was looking at, and they saw it wasn't that good, and they said, no, thank you. And then another guy was on scholarship at Florida State, and they said he was so bad they took his scholarship away, kicked him out. He came back as a walk-on and now has a starting position. I think that's at center. And I think they have another tackle. Their left tackle is a true freshman. I know that. So where the first true freshman, I don't really know where he fits in on that line. He may be the left tackle for all I know, but their offensive line is not good. Have many true freshman offensive linemen. OC, their offensive coordinator, keeps the game in the quarterback's hands and forces him to make the decision in the sense that this is a one-read system, and it's either that guy's open and he's not, throw it to this guy, or if that guy's not open, you're probably getting sacked at that point. So their offense is undoubtedly run through Cam Akers, who is their star running back. He has over 114 yards a game. He has almost 1,000 rushing yards this season. He has 114 yards a game. He has 21 catches on the season, which puts him second on the team in receiving. He is very, very good. He is a guy that if he hits a hole, he probably is going to score. He has lightning fast speed. He is very hard to tackle. This is a guy who is a 5-star running back and is coming into his own at Florida State finally. Last season was dreadful because, I mean, Miami's offensive line in terms of sacks is only just ranked just below Florida State, so that should put you in terms of offensive line where Miami is in Florida State, that they're basically the same. But Miami seems to be on a more upswing of their offensive line. Florida State's is on a down. You got to tackle Cam Akers. Can't let him break first contact. Can't let him, bust the big play. Can't let him run all over you. And Miami's offense throughout the season was doing good until Georgia Tech. And it's just that Georgia Tech blew us open running the football, obviously, with the 29 missed tackles. Then Pitt blew us up with the Wildcat formation. And that's something that Florida State likes to do a lot because their quarterbacks are, quite frankly, pretty terrible. So they want to just give the ball in Cam Akers' hands because that is their meal ticket to getting wins and getting yards is Cam Akers. So they are going to give the ball to Cam, and our defense isn't exactly good against the Wildcat or against the run lately. So this is going to be a big game for Romeo Finley in terms of tackling because we don't play a 4-3. We play a 4-2-5 with Finley being our striker. So their offense is not good. I think we have better players. It's just Cam Akers is the X factor on this team. He is their DJ Dallas. He's better than Dallas. He is better than Jeff Thomas. He is a player who was a 5-star recruit before their coach ultimately dipped and he was left without a paddle, basically. So, in terms of Miami's defense, I mean, we can't defend the run well recently. I mean, their offensive line is bad. We need to take care of that. Greg Rousseau and John Garvin should have an excellent day. I mean, it really does help the fact, too, that their quarterback remains at large. They have no clue who they want to start. They will use both of them. And it's not like one's a dual threat and one's a pocket passer. No, these are the exact same quarterbacks. And it's just ultimately, I don't really see how the Florida State offense is going to do well without running the football. If they can run the football, this game could be really bad for Miami. I mean, this is, as I've said, this breaks tendencies, breaks schemes, and breaks up the stats. So we'll see what happens. And then just the brass tacks of it all is every player is going to try their hardest. This game, though, always has a way of breaking your perception of the team in terms of who they are, what their identity is. From here on out, every team, the winning team ultimately has a better perception and is ultimately better throughout the season, and the losing team does worse. This team breaks their own perceptions of who they are as a team also. If you do well, you could bust your season wide open. If you do terrible, it could just say, well, we tried our absolute hardest. It was still terrible. Yikes. So, I mean, the point spreads, the over-unders, like all that doesn't mean anything. This game will come down to the wire ultimately. I mean, there have been 6 games of recent memory where they've been basically come down to field goals. I mean, 3 wide rights, 1 wide left from FSU, 1 block against Florida State from Mike Badgley. His extra point gets blocked. Miami needs this win. I mean, there are typically no weaknesses in these teams. But this season, there's a lot of weaknesses in both teams. And Miami needs this win. So does FSU. But Miami, as a homer, Miami needs this win to solidify themselves as being able to figure out how to win. So, I mean, as a score, as just to final it all off, I would like to say a big score, but I'm going to go 24-20. Miami, 24-20 Miami. I would say that would be a good score. I think our offense could be a little rejuvenated, as limited as we're going to be. I'm trying not to talk about that too much in terms of scheme. So Miami needs to run the football, make Jarren Williams' life a lot easier, and we need to stop Cam Akers from running, and that should be all we have to do on defense. And that's a tall task because not many teams have done that. So that's about, yeah, I mean, it's like I can't talk in detail about these teams because ultimately it's not going to matter. It doesn't matter. This game will be completely different than what we all thought it would be. So I'm sorry if you're an Andrew fan, I guess, and Andrew's not here. As I said, he just could not make it. So this has been Tyler's Corner. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Leave a like, share it around. Try to get it. And this is Friday as I'm filming it. Try to get it around before 3:30 on Saturday. Let the people know what Miami has got to do on both sides of the football in order to help us win. So that's been me, I guess. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and let me know what you think. I know this time slot was a little different, but it'll definitely be changed on Monday as we do our breakdown of what happened in the game. So thanks for watching, guys.